Dee Dee Blanchard has been found.
Gypsy is still missing this morning.
48-year-old single mother Dee Dee Blanchard was found violently killed in her home, and her 19-year-old cancer-ridden daughter, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, missing. It only came to light when family friends Kim and David Blanchard suspected a Facebook post from Dee Dee's account.
It said, "The bitch is dead."
The two were shocked. They rushed to Dee Dee house as because it was unlike her to speak this way. She lived alone with her wheelchair-bound daughter who was very ill. The Blanchards, fearing the worst, were surprised to find the car in the driveway and all 3 wheelchairs at home. Gypsy couldn't walk as she was paralyzed from the waist down.
Let them know that we needed a wellness check done on a disabled mother and daughter.
By Monday, Dee Dee was safely recovered in Wisconsin, unharmed. Incredibly ill, she had the mental age of a child.
Your mom's dead, okay? Now, what I want to ask you is, your mom's passed away, okay? And she's deceased, all right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this?
She was unaware her mother had been found dead, but shockingly, the officer questioning her would unveil something sinister.
You know something, and you're afraid.
He commanded me to clean him up.
And he raped you?
Was this girl truly the victim of a horrendous crime? The officer was not surprised when Gypsy dropped the cartoony voice in the middle of the interrogation.
Okay. How did that make you feel when he told you that?
Happy.
Sure.
Because we talked about getting married before.
But you knew your mom was dead.
But even he was shocked to find this paralyzed little girl walking.
That for me? Right with you, okay?
What followed next shocked Gypsy Rose's donors, friends, family, loved ones, and even her very own father. Gypsy was forced to look ill, get seizures, chemotherapy, medication, when in reality, she was completely healthy. The mother-daughter duo were involved in an elaborate financial scam. But was she an accomplice, a killer, or the real victim in this story? When the trusting nature of a child is exploited by the betrayal of her own flesh and blood, we come across this extraordinary tragedy. Welcome back to our channel, where we will discuss the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard and the liberation of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. A child turning against their parent is vile, but a mother betraying her own child is even darker. While many believed Gypsy Rose was a prisoner taken hostage by her mother, recently they say Gypsy is just as conniving and clever as her mother. But who was Dee Dee Blanchard, and what led to such extreme measures? Born Claudine Pitre in Louisiana in 1967, Dee Dee grew up in Golden Meadow with her family. She was the youngest of 5 children. Her mother was protective and claimed Dee Dee had a heart murmur. Mostly kept indoors, Dee Dee wasn't very social growing up as her mother obsessed over keeping her safe, given her heart condition. Laura Peter is said to have been a manipulative, suppressive mother and a shoplifter. Unfortunately, these behaviors would reflect on Dee Dee as well. In 1986, 19-year-old Dee Dee joined a local beauty pageant. While beautiful, she had a dark side. Relatives claimed Dee Dee stole from them when things weren't her way. She was also known to have been spoilt by her father, and whatever she asked for had to be immediately given to her, otherwise she would throw a tantrum. At 24, she met a 17-year-old boy named Rod Blanchard in a bowling alley bar. Dee Dee got pregnant. The high schooler married Dee Dee on December 27, 1990, but separated before Gypsy's birth. On his 18th birthday, Rod realized he got married for the wrong reasons. Despite the separation, he was a supportive dad during the pregnancy and welcomed their daughter on 27th July, 1991. Dee Dee named their daughter Gypsy Rose since she preferred the name Gypsy, and the teen dad loved the band Guns N' Roses. Rod tried to get close to the baby, but Dee Dee seemed a little too protective, especially when little Gypsy fell sick. Gypsy was only 3 months old when her mother gave her treatment for sleep apnea, so this baby slept with a machine. One of the earliest surgery memories Gypsy would have was of the doctors inserting a feeding tube in her as she was unable to eat. When Gypsy was 7, she suffered a motorbike accident with her grandfather and had to use a wheelchair for a while. From a young age, Gypsy had epilepsy, asthma, and a rare chromosomal disorder, so her brain stopped developing at the age of 7. By the time Gypsy turned 8, she suffered from muscular dystrophy as well as leukemia. Dee Dee shaved Gypsy's head, assuring the little girl her hair was going to fall out anyway. Gypsy had visual and hearing impairments and would be subjected to several surgeries, including one to remove her salivary glands. Seizure medication made her teeth rot, so she had to have them pulled out. Life for Dee Dee and Gypsy was a lot of hospital trips. Around the same time, in 1997, Dee Dee's mother, Emily Peter, died. Emily was dependent on Dee Dee by the end, but relatives had some horrible suspicions. They alleged that Dee Dee had starved her mother to death and neglected her in her time of need. But a trained nurse, who spent so much time with her daughter in hospitals, surely she wouldn't do that to her ailing mother. Since she was a supporter of Special Olympics, Gypsy attended them regularly with her parents. Rod was actively involved in her life until 2004. Little Gypsy was famous among sick, terminally ill children. Her mother got her the exposure she needed to raise funds so that she got the best treatment money could buy. He got his sick daughter expensive gifts like a Nintendo Wii, among other presents. But he had to move on, since he could hardly spend time with his daughter due to her frequent hospitalizations. Rod got remarried to a woman named Christy. Christy had worked alongside Dee Dee in the past as a receptionist, while Dee Dee was a nurse's aide. But Dee Dee had no time to be jealous or upset. She was struggling with a sick child. She had to move in with her father and stepmother, Laura Peter, to be able to afford Gypsy's treatment. Gypsy and her grandfather were best friends, but Dee Dee and Laura did not get along that well. Throughout her stay there, she was arrested for many minor offenses. She was also charged with writing bad checks. Once, Christy found prescription packets under Gypsy's bed. It was shocking. It meant Dee Dee had stolen them from the hospital. When Dee Dee was confronted, she got upset and moved to Slidell, New Orleans. She lived there for a few years until their home was tragically washed away in August 2005.
Story, but
Okay, sure.
me and my mother are Hurricane Katrina survivors.
Okay.
And my birth certificate was washed away in Katrina.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they messed up a long time when they messed up the paperwork, and it said 1991, but it's actually.
The survivors moved to Missouri in 2006, living in Aurora. During her time there in 2007, Dr. Bernardo Flasterstein, a pediatric neurologist, suspected Gypsy wasn't as ill as everyone thought. The doctor doubted Dee Dee's stories about Gypsy's illnesses. He noted an unusual distribution of weakness for a muscular dystrophy patient. Despite this, he gave the case the benefit of the doubt and conducted tests, all of which came back normal. He confronted Dee Dee with information from a doctor in New Orleans who had seen Gypsy previously. The doctor had confirmed that the muscle biopsy was negative for muscular dystrophy. Dr. Flasterstein suspected Munchausen by proxy and documented his concerns in Gypsy's file. Munchausen by proxy is a form of abuse where a caregiver, makes up or induces symptoms of an illness in someone under their care to gain attention or sympathy. It leads to unnecessary medical treatments. After this visit, Dee Dee stopped seeing him. Dr. Flasterstein never followed up and regrets not taking further action. Stuck in a wheelchair, her life mostly about medications and hospital visits, Gypsy loved the fantasy world of Disney. It gave her hopes and dreams. Her favorite was the movie Tangled.
To get out ain't gonna happen. Let her dog take care of her. Oh!
She wasn't aware of how similar her circumstances were. In 2008, when Habitat for Humanity constructed a modest home for the mother-daughter duo, complete with a wheelchair ramp and a hot tub, as part of a broader initiative in North Springfield.
I remember my mom had gave me this little glass house, and she said, one day this will be real.
It's so easy to live here, and it's so peaceful.
It just proves that happy endings are not just in fairy tales, they're real and true in real life also.
The single mother and her severely disabled daughter relocated there. Their story brought about significant coverage in local media. The community frequently rallied to support Dee Dee. Since she had a projector, Dee Dee often organized outdoor movie screenings at their new residence, charging attendees between $1 and $5 for snacks. Gypsy and Dee Dee had a lot of support. They received donations, and in Louisiana, they stayed at Ronald McDonald houses sometimes for appointments. In Missouri, they got free flights to Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City.
Where are you going today?
I'm going to Children's Mercy Hospital to see my dentist for my teeth.
They also got free trips to Disney World and went to Miranda Lambert concerts with special passes. Where was Gypsy's dad? Well, according to neighbors, Dee Dee claimed Gypsy's father was a deadbeat alcoholic who had abandoned the family. She had escaped an abusive family to finally settle down in their little pink house on Hope Street. But what was really going on? Rod Blanchard kept sending money and gifts to Gypsy and sometimes talked to her on the phone. Once, on Gypsy's 18th birthday, Dee Dee told him not to say her real age because she thought she was 14. Dee Dee insisted Gypsy was confused and had the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. Rod and Christy would try to meet Gypsy or visit, but Dee Dee always had a change of plans, hospitalizations, and last-minute problems. Yet Rod signed a child support check of $1,200 every month for his sick daughter.
I told Dee Dee she was the best mother. There's no way I can do what you're doing. You have a sick child, it's constantly 24/7 taking care of her.
In the fall of 2009, an anonymous caller phoned the Springfield Police Department, expressing doubts about Gypsy's health as described by her mother. When police arrived, Dee Dee reassured them, explaining inconsistencies in her identity as a safety measure against an abusive ex-husband. No further investigation was conducted, and the case was closed with the belief that Gypsy had a mental handicap. No one checked up on the case or called Rod Blanchard to verify Dee Dee's claims. Gypsy was drooling severely, for which she had to get her glands removed. It would later come to light that Dee Dee put topical anesthetic in Gypsy's mouth, causing her to drool. Friend and neighbor Alea Woodsman reports that Gypsy was beginning to show an interest in boys. She was, according to her mother, a teen. She even asked for advice on kissing a boy and just normal girl talk, but Dee Dee did not approve of this.
Her mom was always present. She was immediately like a filter for us, like Gypsy wouldn't talk about anything personal while we were together.
But what was going on? June 15, 2015, Detective Hancock was trying to interview Gypsy to understand what happened to Dee Dee Blanchard. Gypsy revealed some interesting details along with some definitive body language.
Is that what you how old then?
I would be really 19, but on here it's my Medicaid. My medical insurance has 23.
Okay.
During her interrogation, Gypsy claims her date of birth is 1995. Turns out this was a lie. In fact, Dee Dee had forged a birth certificate for Gypsy. The question is, was Gypsy aware of her age? The way she insists on her age, the innocent, high-pitched voice, what if it wasn't real? By 2011, Gypsy was exceedingly hard to control. The first time Gypsy ran away from home, it was with a friend named Dan. Gypsy confessed something dark. She said her mother was forcing her into a lie. The friend asked her to pack her things and live with him. The two went to a science convention and she ran off. Her mother found her within 4 hours and smashed her computer with a hammer.
This dog leash and clipped it to a pair of handcuffs and then clipped the handcuffs to the bed and it was like that for about...
With a document stating Gypsy was incapable of taking care of herself. It seemed hopeless. Shockingly, Dee Dee was openly abusing Gypsy, keeping her sedated. Gypsy was aware that something was wrong with her, but not the way you'd think. She felt her mother wasn't completely honest. She was always holding Gypsy's hand during public appearances, and Gypsy wasn't allowed to speak to the doctors. Her mother wasn't being protective, she was controlling Gypsy. During the interrogation, Detective Hancock suspected something bigger was at play here. Gypsy didn't know how the officers had found her. The police had traced the IP address of those Facebook posts from June 14th.
Located Gypsy in another state. She is okay. We do have another person.
The next day, on 15 June 2015, they came up to a small house located 600 miles away in Big Bend, Wisconsin, at the home of Nicholas Godejohn. Nicholas Godejohn's mental level was around 15 or 16-year-old level, similar to Gypsy. He didn't have normal social interactions, as he had been diagnosed with Asperger's and was on the autism spectrum.
He has autism, Asperger's. And that's
Has he been diagnosed with autism and Asperger's?
Yes.
Okay.
When authorities arrived at his house, a standoff ensued, requiring the SWAT team's intervention. Upon entering the home, they found Gypsy with him, unharmed and seemingly unaware of anything going on. It appeared she was kidnapped, but the truth was more complicated.
Where did you guys meet?
It was a site called ChristianForDatingFree.com.
Gypsy had met Nicholas online in October of 2012. She confessed to her friend and neighbor Alea and showed her all the love messages between herself and Nicholas. Alea assumed it was all a fantasy since the sick little girl was stuck in a hopeless situation. Gypsy tried to introduce Nicholas to her mother at a screening of Cinderella. While her mother was not very happy with the couple, they snuck off.
You guys had sex a different time than this. Oh, when did that happen?
It was in a what the heck was it? It was a theater.
In a theater?
Yeah.
In Springfield or somewhere different?
Springfield.
Wow, did her mom know?
We kept it from her mom.
Okay. Where did you have sex at in the theater?
It was in a bathroom.
Her mother was extremely angry. They fought for 2 weeks. Dee Dee took away her computer, and Gypsy was not allowed to go online for a long time. She was also forbidden to talk to Nicholas. Nicholas was into BDSM, and he introduced her to it online. Gypsy was confused and didn't like it at first, but he told her it was fun. She was a growing girl with needs and didn't necessarily know what love and romance or relationships were supposed to be like. During that time, Nick's ex-girlfriend messaged Gypsy, warning her that he had a sinister side to him. But Gypsy was exploring things with Nick. They had online role play, she would dress up and send him racy pictures. It is safe to say Gypsy knew she was healthy by now and knew she was a hostage to her mother. After a year together, Gypsy told him the truth about her mother. She confessed that she could walk and that her mother forced her not to. Gypsy saw an escape, a way out, and so she asked her knight in shining armor to rescue her.
I came here because my mother kicked me out of my house. She and I were having relationship problems. I guess she wanted me to stay a little girl forever. She didn't really like my boyfriend. and she was like, pretty much, if you want to move to Wisconsin with him, fine, go. She basically wanted me out of the house before then because we kept on having arguments, but I'm not a violent person. I would never ever hurt her. And a lot of our arguments stemmed from being with Nick. And so I just basically chose to come here. I gave him money to come here, and I said, can you please come pick me up? Because my mom's kicking me out of the house real soon. And that's when he asked his mom,
While Gypsy was being interrogated, Nicholas was in the other room, telling the story of the events that led to the death of DD Blanchard.
Apparently, from what she told me, her mom kicked her out of her house.
Okay.
So she texted me to pick her up.
Okay.
And what happened was I got on the bus about a day later, about in the afternoon of that day.
Okay.
And then I got back to, what was it? I believe it was Springfield. That's where she was. Yeah, that's where it is. Because I'm all loopy from being so away.
Okay.
So long. Yeah, Springfield, Missouri. As soon as I got there, I walked straight to a...
Gypsy wanted to run away from home, maybe something common in teen girls. But her case was different. She was a golden goose to her mother, and she wasn't getting away that easy. The events of June 14, 2015 were important. The detectives knew Nicholas and Gypsy would lead them to the truth.
Your mom's dead, okay? Now, what I want to ask you is, your mom's passed away, okay? And she's deceased, all right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this? Okay.
Initially, Gypsy had a squeaky, cartoony voice while being questioned by Detective Hancock. But with time, the detective was having none of it, and it was obvious to Gypsy she had to come up with a good story. Gypsy had already dropped the fake voice and was acting slightly more mature.
Did she have a heart attack? She was
Hey,
sick.
it could be. We're not going to play those games. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm here to do. Okay?
Please tell me she did not commit suicide. She had bipolar.
Okay, we're not going to get off on that track. We're not getting off on that track, okay? You know what happened.
No.
You do know what happened. You were there, okay?
Wait, no.
Yes, you were. You were there.
I was there. I told you I got kicked out.
You're leaving stuff out. You know something, and you're afraid. You're scared.
I am afraid, and I am scared because I don't know what's
going
on.
So has somebody threatened you?
But she genuinely didn't know what happened to her mother. Things had been rough between DD and Gypsy regarding Nick. DD believed Nicholas was no good for her and forbade the two from talking. But whenever DD slept, Nicholas and Gypsy made plans to run away. Their relationship thrived in the forbidden love situation.
She had a way of reading people.
Okay.
And she said that he seems like the head in a closet type of person, the kind that murders and kills, and
your mom was right.
Jeffrey Dahmer kind of person.
You think your mom was right? You know your mom was right. You hit it right on the nail on the head, sweetheart.
It seems as though Gypsy had no idea what was going to happen that day, and apparently there were red flags everywhere.
It's us against the world, and that he's going to protect me no matter what, and that we were going to get married and everything, and nothing was going to stop us.
Okay, even your mom. So he took care of that, didn't he?
But the detective didn't know it was all a ruse. From the childlike, innocent voice to the naive demeanor, it was a way to save her life. In reality, Gypsy Rose had planned all of it herself. Text messages would reveal Gypsy had literally handed him the knife to stab her mother. Stealing from her mother's savings, she sent $800 to Nicholas so he could come to Springfield. They planned the murder on text messages, and she asked one of his alter egos to come murder her mother for her since she couldn't bring herself to do it.
She went to sleep very, very late, and I was up texting Nick.
It was June 9th when Nicholas arrived in Springfield. He snuck into Gypsy's house where she would give him the knife, gloves, and duct tape. She had instructed him everything on text messages, from the screen door to the room directions. She hid in her bathroom while Nicholas went to Dee Dee's bedroom. He would brutally stab the sleeping mother 17 times. But Gypsy acted oblivious in front of the detective.
He was supposed to come and visit me. And I thought we were gonna go outside and we're just gonna sit together for a while on the porch. And
at your mom's house?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he came inside and
what was your mom doing at that point? Was she asleep?
She was asleep, and I got up to use the restroom. And at that point, he had put me in the bathroom, and he had locked the door.
Okay.
And he went to my mom's room, and I heard her cry. I heard him scream for my name.
Dee Dee was startled and cried out, "Help!" Gypsy hid in the bathroom, covering her ears. When the deed was done, she came out. She cleaned Nicholas with wet wipes.
Dead by then.
She was probably long gone by then.
Long gone by then, by the time you guys are...
Then they called a taxi as morning light seeped through the windows. The two went to the motel, but Gypsy told it differently.
And he kept telling me that everything was going to be okay and everything that he did was for me because he worships me. And he wanted us to be together.
He wanted you guys to be together, told you everything would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think that he meant when he said that?
I thought he would...
She claimed he had forced himself on her, while the videos and Nicholas's interview said otherwise. The two spent some days at the motel and finally decided to go home. Gypsy was seen walking completely fine. They took the Greyhound bus and arrived at Nick's house. Gypsy would later confess that it was her idea all along. The first plan was to introduce them at the movies. Plan B was to get pregnant with Nick's baby, and the last resort was to kill her mother and be free. She was so desperate, she saw no way out.
Good. Listen to me, okay? I know you love your mom. And don't you think your mom loves you? Don't you think your mom just is worried about you? Loves you? Okay?
Just 2 days before Dee Dee was murdered, Gypsy had a huge argument with her mother. She wanted her feeding tube removed, but Dee Dee would have none of it. Can you guess how Gypsy celebrated her freedom? She and Nicholas stayed the night at a motel in Springfield, and they ate chocolate brownies. Freedom to Gypsy Rose was being able to eat chocolate brownies without her mother breathing down her neck. All her life, she was led to believe she couldn't handle chocolate, but her body was perfectly healthy. With every step Gypsy took, she realized nothing her mother told her was true.
Don't tell me that you had anything to do with your mom's killing. And this is the time to be honest, because like I told you, walk out that door.
He had a romantic notion of us doing everything together as a team, but I didn't want this. I wanted my mom and him to...
So did you kill your mom?
No, sir.
Did you help
No, sir.
Nicholas kill your mom?
No, sir. No, sir.
Did you have knowledge that Nicholas was going to kill your mom before he did it?
No, sir.
For the first time in her life, she went out on a real date, to a Waffle House.
Did you guys go anywhere after that?
We went to Waffle House and we tried to eat, but I forgot that I was pregnant.
Okay.
And I started to drink some chocolate milk, but then I got sick.
Okay. All right. So you ate at the Waffle House there, right next to the Days Inn. It's in the same parking lot. Okay. Then where did you go after you guys ate?
We went back to the hotel to lay down because I wasn't feeling good. I felt dizzy and my stomach felt bad.
Okay.
On the last day, he went to Walmart to buy condoms.
Years of suppression were finally bubbling up. She was a teenager in her 20s. While 19 on paper, Gypsy was 23 years old. She was living a life of love and freedom, a life that she was unable to experience because of her mother.
What did you put? What did you type on there?
I put what he had said to me, and he was happy about it.
Which was what?
That bitch is dead.
That bitch is dead? Is that what you just told me? Okay. So you put on your Facebook account, that bitch is dead. Okay.
Gypsy told her bizarre story to the officer the best she could, but she was trying to protect herself and wanted to be the victim in the story, so she threw Nicholas under the bus. She originally stated Nicholas forced her to post on Facebook. She would later change her statement, claiming she wanted someone to find her mother's body sooner so she would be properly buried. She was concerned about what would happen next.
One, what is going to happen to me?
Okay.
And two, am I going to be sent back to Missouri? Can I get my luggage with money and my social security cards, my insurance card?
Okay.
The fact that she was thinking so far ahead cleared any doubts the detective had. This girl had the mental capacity of a young woman. She was speaking normally, her true self. The officer wanted to do one last thing. He wanted to see Gypsy stand up and walk.
Nothing else happened in this state that we know other crimes or you guys didn't do anything? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, go ahead and stand up for me. I'll get a few close-ups, okay? Because you've got all those things on your neck there. Okay. I'll turn like this for me, okay? Is this from the hospital when you were in the hospital there? Okay. Let me get that for me. Maybe just okay.
Once he had Gypsy's story, Detective Hancock decided to drop some truth on her. He ditched his friendly act, stopped comforting her, and just hit her with the facts that he knew to be true.
Okay, you didn't get locked in the bathroom, okay? I'm not stupid. First of all, the lock's on this side, so you can't get locked in there. Okay, you went in there because you brought that knife into the picture. You brought the idea into the picture.
I didn't bring the idea.
You did bring it into. You brought the whole thing in the idea.
No.
And he did it for you.
No.
Yeah,
No.
he did. Okay?
And just as quickly, Gypsy's innocent childlike voice was back. But this time, he won't budge. Knowing full well that she is okay, Gypsy tries one last time to play the terminally ill card, but the officer doesn't fall for it.
I didn't murder my mom, sir.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You did, because you're behind it. You pulled all the strings on it, and you're behind it. Listen, Gypsy, I'm not going to sit and argue with you about it, okay?
All I wanted was him to come and get me.
No, that's not all you wanted. There's a lot more to this whole story that you're leaving out. I'm not going to play the sympathetic game.
Gypsy, realizing she was caught, decided it was time to build her case and lawyer up. She stepped out to face the reality of what she had done. As the officers clasped the handcuffs on her, Gypsy knew she would be held accountable. Gypsy's first court appearance on 17th June 2015 caused quite a stir. Her friends and loved ones were shocked to see her walking. Her father assumed she was cured miraculously.
Like that.
Gypsy resorted back to the childlike voice, and the media criticized the way she was speaking. Perhaps she truly was scared. It was the first time she was openly in the media, without her mother. She had never faced cameras alone before. It was terrifying. She was being charged with second-degree murder. On her lawyer's advice, Gypsy pled guilty to second-degree murder a year later. She appeared completely different on July 5, 2016. Her hair was long, beautiful, and wavy. Her circumstances were highly unusual.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Gypsy Blanchard.
And how old are you?
I'm gonna be 25 years old at 24.
She looked more her age. In fact, she looked beautiful. It was a far cry from the bald, wheelchair-bound girl Dee Dee kept in shackles. She even walked differently. Investigations would reveal Dee Dee had Gypsy on several anti-psychosis or anti-anxiety medications, such as Xanax and Alprazone. This kept her out of touch with reality and slightly lucid, the way a mentally handicapped child would be. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was sentenced to 10 years in prison and spent her days at Missouri's Chillicothe Correctional Center. She started speaking to the media after her plea, telling her side of the story. The most simple answer is that she was in a hostage situation. She tried to run away. She even tried to tell people. The years of abuse, the beatings, and the drugs all took a toll on her, and she finally broke down. Yes, the way she manipulated the situation is incredibly devious, but perhaps there just was no way out. The system failed her. There were many opportunities for doctors to understand, but they took Dee Dee's word for it and never contacted Rod Blanchard. Rod and Christy Blanchard met Gypsy for the first time in over a decade, and it was an emotional family reunion. According to Gypsy, she was freer in jail than she had been with her mother. She expressed remorse for her actions, saying she didn't want her mother dead, she just wanted to be free of the unfortunate situation. Pursuing her GED, she finally had a relationship with her father, a normal, loving relationship. Christy was very supportive, and Gypsy could even speak to her half-sister Mia. In November 2018, a Missouri jury found Nicholas Godejohn, then 29 years old, guilty of first-degree murder and armed criminal action in connection with Dee Dee's death.
I didn't understand the full extent of how healthy I was until after I got arrested.
Nicholas was later sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During the trial, his defense team argued that he was motivated to kill Dee Dee to save Gypsy from abuse. They also claimed he was blindly in love with Gypsy. Gypsy even found love. She found a pen pal, Ryan Scott Anderson, in 2017, and they got engaged in 2019. In July 2022, she got married to Ryan. Finally, on December 28, 2023, after serving 85% of her sentence in prison, 32-year-old Gypsy Rose Blanchard was released on parole at 3 a.m. in the night. The very next day, she went shopping with her husband, something she had never done in her life.
Bought these new shoes. She's just out of prison and going shopping. It's the first video of Gypsy Rose Blanchard with her husband.
There were various documentaries on Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her life, including the events that led to the murder. Hulu released a TV show called The Act, based on Gypsy's life. While many consider Gypsy to be a desperate victim who saved herself, others find her devious and deceptive and say she didn't take responsibility for her actions. The murder of DD Blanchard is tragic since she was betrayed by her own daughter. Unfortunately, she made Gypsy Rose's life impossible, and the girl almost acted in self-defense. Look for signs of abuse in those around you, because when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. Please consider subscribing to our channel and ensure that tragic stories like hers don't go unnoticed. You can help raise awareness and encourage justice for those who need it the most.